G'day, and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And today we're going to be going on the ultimate South Island road trip in this Honda Odyssey Absolute that I bought for just $1,800. And when we get home, we'll be restoring this car to its former glory. Let's go. Here on the channel, I naturally film a lot of car reviews, but with me being in Wellington, the majority of my subscribers who offer me cars to review live elsewhere, namely in Auckland, which is why I travel there half a dozen times a year. But I've also been building up a pretty significant list of cars to do in the South Island as well, which creates a bit of a problem. Getting to Auckland is easy. You just hop in the car, drive for 7 hours, and you're there. But to get to the South Island, you have to cross a big old ocean. So I figured if I could buy a car somewhere already in the South Island and use that for my road trip, that would save one ferry crossing and 12 hours of driving from the trip, making it a lot more manageable. And so I did just that, bidding on this 2004 Honda Odyssey Absolute at Turner's in Dunedin, and I got it for just $1,500 plus fees. A few weeks later, I boarded a flight to Dunedin, and by mid-morning, I took possession of my trusty steed that would allow me to traverse the Deep South. Before leaving Dunedin, I filmed a review of a Mondeo ST220, a secret hero car of mine, and I was very pleased to report that it exceeded my expectations. I expected it to be a kind of typical half-finished Ford product with, you know, a nice sounding engine, but the rest of the car just being a little bit average, but no. And following that, I drove the rest of the way to Invercargill. Along the way, I discovered the first three issues with the Odyssey. The front drive shafts were wobbling, as almost all K24 powered cars do once the CVs wear out. There wasn't much oil in the engine, so I topped that up, and the boot was a swimming pool. These older Hondas like to leak through the taillight seals, and so after scooping all of the water out and leaving the carpets to dry in the Balclutha sun, I carried on to Invercargill and filmed four very interesting Toyotas. A 2001 Camry T-Sport, a New Zealand-only factory supercharged V6 model with a manual gearbox. This thing absolutely scoots, eh? Top of second into third, oh yeah! Followed by an Orion TRD. While both similar in concept, with them both being front-wheel drive, supercharged V6 Camrys essentially, the newer Orion was definitely a lot more sloppy to drive, with an extra 200 kg of weight and a slush box automatic. Oh, okay. Wow, that's a fast car. I also did a Corolla GT, the New Zealand new version of the 2ZZ powered Run X, and a Yaris 1.8 RS. After spending a night in Kingston, I headed into Queenstown and reviewed a 380 horsepower Audi S1 and a Passat R36 engine swapped Volkswagen Caddy up the stunning Remarkables Access Road. The S1, while a little bit dinky, was actually an awesome drive, and I definitely consider replacing my Audi TT with one in the future, as it offers a very similar drive, just in a more modern and practical package with way more power. And the VR6 swapped Caddy was just an epic drive, especially considering it originally came with a 1.2 TSI engine from the factory. I finished off the day by heading down to Gore to review a turbocharged K24 Accord Euro R, which was excellent. 400 horsepower. A VTEC goodness. Oh yeah. And a Falcon XR8, which, well, wasn't. Hang on, that doesn't feel right. Are you sure that can't be it? Is that it? Yeah. Day 3 began with a massive drive from Kingston to Christchurch over the Lindis Pass and past Lake Tekapo in what is often regarded as the most beautiful part of the country. The Odyssey fit right in here amongst the onslaught of tourists and rental vans and hire cars, but the difference was I didn't drive everywhere at half the speed limit. And so, having broken free of the barrage of unspeakably slow drivers, I arrived in Christchurch to review another secret hero car, a Honda Beat, and boy, did it deliver. It's like the car equivalent of those 250cc four-cylinder motorbikes from the 90s that revved to 20,000 RPM. It sounds and feels like it's doing 1,000,000 miles an hour, but look down and you're barely doing 50. I also reviewed a Subaru WRX STI V Limited, which was just great as you'd expect, and a Honda City that I was told was a turbo, and it looked like a turbo, but under the bonnet was a 44 horsepower 1.2 litre engine. Oh dear. Saturday was the big day, 10 reviews all up on the stunning Port Hills of Christchurch. I began with a Turbo D-Series Del Sol, which, despite the fairly significant turbo lag, made for a very fun driving experience. Waiting. There it is. Wow. The Fuga 450 GT I reviewed really surprised me, as it was the first Japanese sports sedan that actually held a candle to a BMW 5 Series, and I much preferred it to an equivalent Lexus GS460 or the smaller Skyline 350 GTs I'd reviewed in the past. Wow, really great noise actually, and an ideal amount of power. The Mazda Speed 3 was frankly not hugely different to the first generation I reviewed a few weeks ago, but the Astra RSV was actually a really good drive for such a modern car. It had impressive power, was very well equipped, good gear ratios, and importantly, it had no rev hang. I'd totally daily one. I also did a 1986 Honda Civic F1 edition, which definitely highlighted that even in the 80s, before VTEC and before Type R, Honda absolutely still knew how to set up a chassis and make a sensational engine. But following that up with an 8900 RPM B18 swapped Integra also revealed just how much more exciting the newer VTEC engines are. 7 grand, 8 grand, oh yeah. I also reviewed a Turbo MX-5, which well and truly solved the power problem those little 1.6s have. Oh yes, that is definitely a lot more than stock. And I finished off my time in Christchurch with a Honda Acti that, well, I mean, come on, it's a pickup truck with 50 horsepower. Then I drove north to Rangiora and drove an awesome BMW 328i. Having generally been more of a fan of the E46 and E92, this E36 definitely revealed its shortcomings on the interior front, but to drive, it was absolutely sublime. After spending a night in Hamner Springs, I got up at 5 AM for the final drive to Nelson over the Lewis Pass, and we definitely saved the best cars till last. I began with a Sirocco versus Focus ST video, both of which were very good to drive, and the Focus in particular was significantly better than the Mondeo XR5 that I reviewed a couple of years back. Then I did a gorgeous yellow RX-7, which was just sublime to drive with 315 wheel horsepower. 8 grand into second. Listen to that. Followed by a 450 horsepower Turbo S2000 that was absolutely insane, both to drive but also to be inside of, with no air conditioning in 30-degree Nelson heat. And my trip concluded with a naturally aspirated NA MX-5, a nice, slow but very tidy car to conclude my 25 review trip. After a quick hop over to Picton, I rolled onto the Blue Bridge ferry and was home by 10 PM, ready for bed. And so, with the Odyssey home, it was time to get it all cleaned up. I began by giving the car an almighty wash, as I'd killed an entire species of bugs on my front bumper throughout my travels. Naturally, they weren't terribly easy to get off, but after spending all morning scrubbing away in the sun, the paint and wheels were clean, and then I could start on the touch-ups. It's amazing, how when you get up close with a car like this, you notice how many little spots the paint chips off from, especially thanks to our rubbish chip-sealed roads. But even though the chips are small, touching them up, from a distance at least, really improves the overall condition of the car. After dehazing the headlights and polishing a few marks on the bumpers, the exterior was looking really good, and I moved inside. Fortunately, the inside didn't need too much either, as Turners had already cleaned it all up before I picked it up, and I was the only one who'd been in the car since. So after a quick vacuum and a wipe down of the dashboard, the Odyssey was restored to its former glory. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the mighty Odyssey Absolute has done very well indeed. $3,000 kilometers without any issues, beautiful ice cold air conditioning, cruise control for the open road, enough power to overtake thanks to its K24 A2 engine with 200 horsepower, and I even managed to get it airborne and power slide it through a gravel corner. This is one of the fastest, best handling and best driving people movers on the market from the era when Honda actually really cared about the driving dynamics of not just their performance cars, but even cars like this. Because underneath it's just a Honda Accord Euro, it means that it possesses a lot of the same driving characteristics. It has the same 200 horsepower K24 engine that sounds fantastic. It has the same snappy 5-speed auto that you can rev match perfectly just like you would a manual. It has a proper Tiptronic mode. The steering is hydraulic, which means that you have a fantastic idea of what's going on at the front end. And with double wishbone suspension all round, it rides well, but also handles nicely too. It still has the disastrously long gears that these 5-speed automatic Honda transmissions are known for, but other than that, the only disadvantage this has over a fantastic driving Accord Euro is a little bit more weight. And I gotta say, having not been in the South Island for over 2 years since I was last down there in my BMW 130i, it really is just so much better down there. Beautiful scenery, lovely people, less traffic, and better roads. It actually feels like New Zealand down there, where you get the sense you can get away with having a little bit of fun without being incarcerated for a million years. The infrastructure down there prioritizes cars with lots of nice, good condition, wide roads with plenty of passing lanes and not too many cycle lanes, bus lanes and speed cameras everywhere. It's a high trust society. In most places where I parked, I just left the keys in the ignition to keep charging my cameras without a care in the world. And finally, you actually see New Zealand flags being flown down there. You can tell the people who live there are proud of their country and their heritage, which is something that can't be said for significant portions of the North Island. Nonetheless, while many have given up on New Zealand and moved to Australia in the hundreds of thousands, I'm not throwing in the towels anytime soon. We've got some epic content on the way from the South Island trip that you've seen today, along with Auckland trips that I've done in the past. And my fiance and I have just bought a house, so on Christmas Day you can look forward to a Kiwi house life restoration. And while I have culled my fleet of cars down to just my TT and this excellent Honda Odyssey, which means there may not be too many restoration videos on the way anytime soon, I have found some success with videos discussing car culture here in New Zealand, which I intend to delve further into. So stay tuned for all the new videos coming in 2026, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time.